Have you ever watched a dancer, poised in the wings, just before the music begins? In that suspended silence, there is a single critical moment, a moment of potential, of pure possibility. It hangs in the air. And then it passes. The dancer leaps, or she doesn't. Our lives are filled with these backstage moments. They are not the big, dramatic decisions we agonize over for weeks. They are the tiny, silent spaces between a thought and an action. The moment you think, I should speak up, and then the silence stretches. The moment you consider going for a walk, and then you look at the couch. The moment you have a creative idea, and then you reach for your phone to distract yourself from the vulnerability of it. There is a bridge between the person you are and the person you know you could be, and that bridge is just 5 seconds long. It's a rule deceptively simple. If you have an instinct to act on a goal, a value, a moment of courage, you must physically move within 5 seconds, or your brain will kill the idea. It will deploy a team of highly efficient bodyguards, doubt, fear, overthinking, distraction, to protect you from the perceived danger of stepping into the unknown, but in those 5 seconds, you are faster than they are. This is not about 5-year plans, this is about 5-second impulses. It is about the micro, choice to put on your running shoes instead of debating for 20 minutes whether you feel like running. It is the micro, courage to raise your hand in a meeting the instant the thought forms, before you can concoct a story about what everyone might think. It is the micro, connection of sending a text to a friend you miss right now, before you decide you're too busy. A 5-star life is not built from a single, magnificent, perfect performance. It is choreographed in these countless 5-second decisions. It is the sum of all the tiny leaps you did take, over all the ones you let slip away. Each time you move on that instinct, you are casting a vote for a different version of yourself. You are telling your spirit, I listen to you, I trust you. And with each vote, that version of you becomes more real, more solid, more present. So start to notice the silence after the impulse, the space between I could and but. And in that space, count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move not with the certainty of success, but with the simple, profound faith that the leap itself is the victory. Your 5-star life is waiting, not in some distant, perfect future. It is waiting in the very next 5 seconds. All you have to do is cross the bridge. There exists a fragile, almost imperceptible frontier between the life you are living and the life you imagine for yourself. It is not a chasm spanned by grand, sweeping gestures, but a narrow bridge that appears for just a moment. This bridge is 5 seconds long. It is the silent, pivotal space that emerges immediately after an instinct for something better sparks within you. The impulse to speak a difficult truth, to begin a healthy habit, to finally act on a creative idea. In this fleeting window, a profound battle is fought not with external forces, but with the internal architecture of your own mind. Your potential stands on one side, and on the other stands a highly efficient, deeply ingrained security system, whose sole purpose is to keep you safe, predictable, and within the boundaries of the known. This security system is your own cognitive machinery, and it is brilliantly, devastatingly effective. It mistakes courage for risk, growth for danger, and vulnerability for weakness. The moment that positive impulse flashes, a countdown begins. If you do not physically move within 5 seconds, this system activates. It does not announce itself with alarm bells. It operates with the quiet, insidious power of a well-rehearsed script. It begins to rationalize. You're tired? It whispers, maybe tomorrow. It conjures fears, what will people think? It invites overanalysis, you don't have a perfect plan yet. It offers distractions, just check your phone first. These are not signs of a weak character. They are the standard operating procedure of a brain designed for self-preservation. It is simply doing its job, but its job is to protect the status quo, not to propel you toward a 5-star life. The revolutionary power of the 5-second rule lies in its understanding of this neural hijacking and its simple, elegant countermeasure. It recognizes that you cannot outthink this process. You cannot debate the bodyguard. It has more data, more experience, and a louder microphone in your mind. The only way to win is to move faster than the signal can travel from the instinct to the fear centers. The countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is not a motivational mantra, it is a tactical override. It is a cognitive interrupt switch that creates a buffer, a zone of pure action before the defenses can be fully mobilized. It forces the body to move before the mind can mount its counterargument. This physical movement is the key. It is the act of standing up from your desk the instant you think of going for a walk. It is the action of raising your hand in the meeting before you have fully formulated the perfect thing to say. It is the motion of picking up the phone to make the call while the impulse is still fresh. The movement itself is a declaration. It signals to your entire being that the decision has been made, the debate is over. By the time your internal bodyguard has finished its first sentence, you are already in motion. The opportunity has been seized. The bridge has been crossed. In this way, the 5-second rule is not about thinking your way into a better life. It is about acting your way into a new way of thinking. It is the practice of trusting the initial, pure instinct of your potential self over the learned, cautious commentary of your protective self. Every successful crossing of that 5-second bridge is a victory not just for the task at hand, but for the very possibility of a more courageous and authentic existence. Your mind possesses a brilliant, ancient, and deeply conservative security apparatus. Its primary mission, honed over millennia, is not your happiness, your fulfillment, or your growth. Its mandate is survival, and to that end, it prioritizes safety, predictability, and energy conservation above all else. This system is your psychological immune system, and it is incredibly effective at its job. The moment you experience an impulse that represents a deviation from the known, a spark of courage, a call to creativity, a step into physical or emotional discomfort, the system perceives it not as an opportunity, but as a threat. A threat to your social standing, a threat to your comfortable routine, a threat to your stored energy reserves. And like any good security team, it responds with swift and overwhelming force. This force does not manifest as a dramatic external barrier, but as an internal psychological lockdown. The tools at its disposal are the very thoughts and feelings we often mistake for our own reasoned judgment. It deploys the cold water of doubt, dousing the initial spark. It activates the loudspeaker of fear, amplifying potential consequences into paralyzing forecasts of failure or embarrassment. It engages the labyrinth of overthinking, inviting you to analyze an impulse from a dozen angles until its original clarity is lost in a fog of what-ifs and buts. And if these are not enough, it has a final, potent weapon: distraction. It will redirect your attention to something trivial, something immediately gratifying, something that requires no courage at all: the ping of a notification, the comfort of a familiar snack, the numbing scroll of a screen. This is the bodyguard of your mind in action. It is not your enemy, it is an overzealous protector. Its intention is to keep you safe from harm, but it defines harm so broadly that it includes any form of uncertainty, effort, or vulnerability. It mistakes the stretching of your capabilities for a life, threatening risk. The 5-second window exists because this security system, while fast, is not instantaneous. There is a tiny gap between the initial instinct and the full deployment of these defensive forces. It is in this narrow corridor of time that you have a chance to act. If you hesitate, if you entertain the first rationalization for even a moment, the system gains a foothold, the doubt becomes a debate, the fear becomes a feeling, and the moment is lost. The rule, therefore, is a tool for bypassing this internal bureaucracy. It is the cognitive equivalent of moving before the security detail has finished its risk assessment. By the time your mind has assembled its arguments for why you should stay put, you are already in motion, and the argument is rendered moot. The goal is not to defeat the bodyguard, but to outmaneuver it, to move with a decisiveness that is faster than its protocols. We often fall into the trap of believing that a life of excellence, a 5-star life, is the result of a singular, monumental transformation, a dramatic leap fueled by a sudden windfall of motivation or a perfectly crafted multi-year plan. We wait for the conditions to be ideal, for the stars to align, for the profound and sustained inspiration that will propel us effortlessly toward our goals. This belief is perhaps the greatest obstacle we face. The truth is far more granular and far more accessible. A 5-star life is not constructed from a handful of grand, perfect decisions. It is meticulously assembled, moment by moment, from a long and consistent sequence of tiny 5-second choices. It is the sum of all the microscopic acts of courage you did take, subtracted by all the ones you let slip away. Think of it as the architectural principle of a cathedral. No single stone defines the grandeur of the entire structure. Yet, remove enough of the seemingly ordinary stones, and the entire edifice collapses. Your life operates on the same principle. The 5-second decision to drink a glass of water instead of soda is one stone. The 5-second choice to send a follow-up email you've been avoiding is another. The 5-second commitment to listen fully to a loved one without glancing at your phone is a third. Individually, these actions appear insignificant. They are easy to dismiss, to postpone, to deem unworthy of our focus. But their power is not in their individual weight, it is in their cumulative mass. Each time you act on a positive instinct, you are not just completing a task, you are actively laying another stone in the foundation of your character. This accumulation of micro-choices creates a powerful compound effect. The first time you use the rule to get out of bed for a morning walk, it is a struggle. The 10th time, it is a habit. The 100th time, it is a core part of your identity. You are no longer someone who is trying to be healthier. You are a person who moves their body. The first time you speak up in a meeting with your heart pounding, it is terrifying. The 5th time, it is manageable. The 20th time, it is a natural expression of your perspective. You have transitioned from being someone who should speak up to being a person who contributes. This is how a 5-star life is built, not through a sudden dramatic metamorphosis, but through the slow, steady, and undeniable process of becoming. You are quite literally voting for your future self with every 5-second decision, and with each vote, that self becomes more real, more embodied, and more in charge. The grand plan is not the architect. The consistent application of tiny, courageous acts is. The masterpiece of your life is painted with these small, deliberate strokes, not with a single, sweeping brush of fate. We are taught to believe a dangerous lie that we must feel motivated before we can act. We wait for inspiration to strike like lightning, for confidence to well up within us, for the fear to subside before we take the first step. This belief hands over the reins of our lives to the most fickle and unpredictable of forces, our fleeting emotions. The revolutionary insight of the 5-second rule is that it completely inverts this equation. It understands that motivation is not the cause of action, but very often its consequence. Action must come first. You do not need to feel ready to begin. You need to begin to feel ready. The simple physical act of moving on an instinct, of putting on your running shoes, of opening the document, of dialing the number, is the spark that creates the motivation, not the other way around. This is because action is the language of the subconscious. You can debate a feeling indefinitely. You can lie in bed arguing with yourself about how tired you are for 20 minutes, but the body does not debate. When your body moves, it sends a powerful, unambiguous signal to your brain. This is happening. The mental state then begins to align itself with the physical reality. The act of lacing up your shoes shifts your internal narrative from "do I feel like running" to "I am going for a run." The momentum of that single, small, physical action creates a tiny current of momentum that makes the next action easier. The initial resistance, which was entirely psychological, is broken by a physical truth. Furthermore, action is the antidote to the paralysis of perfectionism. We often hesitate because we are waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect words, the perfect moment. This hesitation is where dreams go to die, picked apart by the vultures of what if and not good enough. But the 5-second rule demands imperfection. It demands a messy, imperfect, and courageous first step. It understands that the perfect first draft does not exist and that the flawless plan is a myth. By forcing you to act before your inner critic has time to suit up, you bypass the need for certainty. You trade the illusion of a perfect outcome for the raw, powerful reality of a begun journey. The confidence you seek is not found in the safety of contemplation, but forged in the imperfect, sometimes awkward, process of doing. The feeling of being capable and courageous does not precede the brave act. It is born from it, often in the moment you realize you have already begun and the world did not, in fact, end. You discover that you are stronger than your fear, not by defeating it in battle, but by turning your back on it and taking a single, decisive step forward. Every time you stand at the precipice of a 5-second decision, you are not merely choosing an action. You are casting a vote in the most important election you will ever participate in, the election for your own identity. In that fleeting moment, you are presented with two candidates. One is the person you have been, the self that is comfortable, familiar, and conditioned by habit. The other is the person you have the potential to become, the self that is courageous, disciplined, and aligned with your deepest aspirations. The 5-second rule is the voting booth. To hesitate, to overthink, to succumb to the whisper of later, is to cast your ballot for the former self. It is to reaffirm the narrative that you are someone who hesitates, who doubts, who chooses comfort over growth. But to physically move, to take that tiny, decisive action, is to cast a powerful, unequivocal vote for your future self. It is a declaration to your own spirit. I am the kind of person who acts. I am the kind of person who follows through. I am the kind of person who trusts my instincts. This process of identity shifting is not a singular, dramatic event. It is a slow, steady accumulation of these microscopic votes. You do not become a writer by announcing you will write a book. You become a writer the first time you open a blank document and write a single sentence against your will. You do not become a healthy person by purchasing gym membership. You become a healthy person the first time you choose the stairs over the elevator on a tired Tuesday afternoon. Each 5-second decision is a brick, and with every brick you lay, the edifice of your new identity becomes more solid, more real, more unshakable. The old stories you told yourself, I'm not disciplined, I'm not brave, I'm a procrastinator, begin to crumble under the weight of contradictory evidence. The evidence is your own actions. This is the profound, long-term power of the rule. It is not merely a productivity hack for getting small tasks done. It is a factory for self-respect. Every time you honor an instinct to act, you build trust with yourself. You learn that you can rely on you. This self-trust becomes the bedrock of genuine confidence, a confidence that is not dependent on external validation, but is rooted in the private knowledge of your own integrity. The goal, then, transcends the individual task. The run you take, the page you write, the conversation you start, these are important, but they are also byproducts. The true prize is the person you become in the process, a person who no longer debates their own potential, but actively constructs it, one 5-second vote at a time. Your 5-star life is not a destination you arrive at. It is the identity you earn through the relentless daily practice of voting for your bravest, most capable self. Give me a speech on title of the 10-second challenge that changes everything, in style of Natalie Portman. Without mention her, she steps into the light, her expression both serene and intensely focused. She pauses, allowing a silence to settle in the room, making the space feel intimate. Have you ever noticed the space between a thought and an action? It's a tiny, almost imperceptible universe. In that universe, entire futures are decided. You're sitting there and the thought arrives, clear as a bell. I should go for a walk. I should send that email. I should apologize. I should finally start. It's a pure, unconflicted impulse, and for a single, fleeting moment, it's all that exists. Then something shifts. The universe begins to collapse. It starts with a whisper. You're tired, maybe later. Then a chorus joins in. What if it's awkward? What if you fail? You don't have everything you need. Just check your phone first. This is where we live, in the space after the impulse, and before the doubt solidifies into an action. We have been taught that change requires Herculean effort, monumental willpower, a complete overhaul. But what if that's the greatest trick our hesitation ever played on us? I want to propose something radically simple. A 10-second challenge, not 10 seconds to solve all your problems, but 10 seconds to do one decisive thing. The moment you have an instinct that aligns with a better version of your life, a healthier instinct, a braver instinct, a more generous instinct, you have 10 seconds to physically begin. 10 seconds to put on your running shoes, 10 seconds to press call, 10 seconds to write the first sentence, 10 seconds to speak the kind word. Why 10 seconds? Because it's just long enough to move, and just short enough to outrun the committee of doubts already gathering in your mind. Your mind is a magnificent palace, but it has very efficient guards at the door whose only job is to keep things the same. They are not evil, they are just terrified of the new. 10 seconds is your chance to slip past them. This isn't about motivation, it's about movement. You will not feel ready. You will not feel perfectly confident. The magic is in understanding that you do not need to. The feeling of readiness doesn't come before the action. It is the reward for the action. Every time you accept this 10-second challenge, you are not just completing a task. You are casting a vote. You are telling the deepest part of yourself, my instincts are valid, my potential is real. And with every vote, the person you aspire to be becomes more than a concept. They become a reality, built one courageous 10-second decision at a time. So I invite you today, in the next hour, listen for that first clear impulse. And when it comes, don't debate it, don't analyze it, just count 10, 9, 8, and move. Your entire life can change in the space of a single 10-second decision. The universe of possibility is waiting. All you have to do is cross it.